Hello, my name is Catarina Lorenzo. I'm 13 years old and I'm from Salvador, Bahia, Brazil. So my activist story is like a long story because I believe I'm an activist since I am in my mom's belly. Because I was born in a fight to protect the forest, which was a fight that my grandfather, my parents were already in this fight. And so this forest is called Vale Encantado. And what was happening is that the local government of Salvador was wanting to pass a road avenue in this forest, and it will kill a lot of biodiversity. It would even it will have like to throw sand and everything on the lake. And this fight is until today. We are still fighting for this, but we are recently trying to create the first wildlife refuge of my city, Salvador, which will be in the Vale Encantado. And I believe this was my first activist fight because when I was in my mother's belly, she was already fighting. And so I always say that the Vale Encantado, this forest, it's like my brother, because it's like a son for my mother and my father, and it's like a brother for me. And another thing that I always say is that we're trying to create the first wildlife refuge of Salvador. But I say that the Vale Encantado is not just a wildlife refuge, but it's also a refuge for us humans. So yeah. I also, when I was little, I participated of strikes for protection of rivers and for protection of other forests. And so, but also I was not just engaged like in this protest and in protecting the forest, but I also have a connection with them. I also have a big connection with nature. And this is also because of the education I had at home, the education my parents gave me, how they made me grow up. Because they let me go up on a tree to get a mango to eat. They let me go up on a coconut tree. Or when we were in the street and then there was like a snake, we literally stopped the entire traffic, and then we got down and got the snake, and my father got the snake with his hands, and I helped him to put the snake back in the forest for it not to be killed. So I grew up like this. I grew up understanding that we human beings are totally dependent of nature. Without nature, we do not exist. Without a planet, we do not exist. And so I grew up knowing that we need to take care of it. And all of this made me have a really big passion, really big love and connection with nature. Also, I'm a surfer, and the surf is also like, it's like half of me also. And it's one of the bigger reasons that I'm really connected with nature. Because I'm always in the ocean, and when I say that I'm surf, when I get a wave, I always say that me and the wave, we are just one thing. So I get connected with the energy. And I always repeat, I get connected because I'm really connected. It's like I feel what nature feels. And another thing that the surfing helps me is that not just the connection, but by me being in the nature like almost every day, I see the things changing. I see when there's something that what is not normal to be there, which is different. And so it was when I was training for the surfing, training to I was swimming, because to surf we have to do like a lot of exercises for us to train our air, for us to train our like how much we can stay underwater. And so I was swimming in a natural pool, and it's a natural pool surrounded by coral reefs, and there's a coral reef in the middle. And my mother swam there when she was 8. This this year it was a summer and I had 9, and I was swimming, training for surfing, when I got close to this coral reef in the middle, and it was with a lot of white dots on it. And this white dots means that the coral reef is dying. And the water was really, really, really hot, not a normal hot, a shower hot. And I thought, oh, the water is just hot here on the top layer. If I dive and touch the sand, it will cool down. And I did that, but the water did not cool down. It continued really hot, an unnormal hot. It was not normal. And I had to leave. Like, I didn't stand to stay in the water. But when I left, I asked myself, like, if I don't stand, how can the sea animals and the living things which live in the ocean, like, for example, the coral reefs, how can they stand it? This is their home. But I really did not understand what was happening. And so when I was at school doing environmental science, which was not a mandatory like class, I chose to do it. It was an elective. And so we started talking about climate change and global warming and how the greenhouse gases are affecting our climate, and how our temperature of the planet is rising and rising. And this point, when she said our temperature was rising, it was like a light bulb, like, in my head, and I understood what had happened to me, that there were consequences of climate change already happening, because the consequences are already happening. In the future, they will just get worse. Just know, they will get really, really worse. And so at that moment, I really wanted to do something. I wanted to not let that happen in any place, in anywhere, and with anyone. And then I have a friend, and she every year comes here to Brazil in the middle of the year. Her name is Jasmine, and her mother is Chandra. And they know a group called Extra Oceans, which is a group of youths from all around the world, which we are trying to protect our blue ocean planet. And this group, they were looking for a Brazilian and they were looking for a Brazilian, and then they asked them, like, if she knew any Brazilian which was engaged in environmental projects and environmental fights and strikes, but also had like a love with nature. And so she indicated my name, and when she came here, she told me that there was a group of Extra Oceans which they were looking for like Brazilians to like share their stories and like have their voice heard. But she didn't explain me really that it was like to the UN and everything. She just told me they were looking for Brazilian. And then we did a call, and I told the same story of me when I was swimming to them, and they asked me if I wanted to tell my story to the world. And so of course I said yes, and the opportunity came, like, and this opportunity was, I think, a changing life opportunity. When I went to the United Nations, I say this experience is a little bit difficult to explain because it's a unique experience, but it was like so great. And I always say that as much as I gave a lot of knowledge and I told my stories and I told a lot of what I knew, I also received a lot of knowledge. I learned so many things. I heard so many stories, and this made me want to even do more, made me be sure that I had to keep going in this fight. Because when I met all those youths from all around the world, and when they told me all those stories of those impacts of climate change, of like, even though they were on the other side of the world, they were suffering different impacts by the same thing, which is climate change. So it made me want to do more. And after the United Nations, also after I also went to the UN to like demand world leaders climate action. And I always remember them, that we, the new generations, are going to be the ones there in the future, paying the consequences of the present, of the actions of the present. And so, like, after the UN, I think 1,000 opportunities, 1,000 doors opened to me for me to make my voice heard. And I'm really glad of that, because I also try, as much as I receive the opportunity, I also try to give the opportunity to other people to also make their voice heard. And right now in the pandemic, I'm continuing my activism, especially through social media and the internet. And so we cannot, for the youths who is already fighting, what I want to say is that we cannot give up. We have to continue fighting, because we have to find ways for us to continue. And one of the ways is social media or internet, or if you can't go out, maybe please with all protections, masks, alcohol gel, You can to like maybe do a sweep on the beach, you know. And for you who are already fighting, I just have a message to say that you don't give up, because we always have challenges in our lives and fights. But if we believe we can do it, if we believe we can overcome these challenges and get to our goals. And this is not just for those who are already in the fight, but for those who are strongly encouraged to enter in this fight, especially youths, because remember that you are the ones being there in the future. And really, it's already proven. If you realize things that never happened on our planet are starting to happen, imagine these things 10 times worse. You don't want that to your future. So I'm just saying, you can start by just changing inside, changing your own actions. That's the start. And by changing your own actions, you are already making a big change. And then if you can, after you change yourself, after you get conscious and mindful of the power of their actions, go there and try and make a change and spread the change. I hope that all of you understand that we need climate action now, that we need action right now, because our time is running out. That's it. Thank you.